changes, that it also includes brand new Contenders skins as well. And looking through the lineups right now, we have seen some Wrecking Ball being played, specifically a lot by Blank. But is this going to be the first DPS Wrecking Ball from Anakin? It is.
And it's in a GOATS comp as well. I'm really
this is what I like.
Yeah, this feels like a natural fit, right? It's that high mobility, high impact, quick fight, wraps around the side. Depp gets one on the, goes down on the front. They haven't quite answered back on Melon. The rest haven't quite gone down in their own right. They're keeping Anakin with this hit and run, wrapping around the side. EXL, though, take the ground of the point itself.
It almost looks so good. Anakin actually bowled through the entire EXL lineup, but they still lost a member. Now they lose Claire as well, so they're just currently continuing to bleed one member at a time.
Yeah, Melon is now 2 for 2 on charges and kills. Chloe picks one up in his own right. EXL's own GOATS comp, the more just by the book one is... I mean, not exactly so, but it's having more success so far.
I'm going to say the difference maker here has to be the Ana players. The Bionade is so effective, and it's going to push Moira out of the GOATS comp, where you don't see in the triple support, triple tank, Moira really being played anymore.
Anakin draws the entirety of the squad back to the point. Means the follow-up on this Earth Shatter isn't quite what they wanted it to be, but it's still plenty enough. Melon again picking up 2. He is now, by the way, 4 of the 5 kills that have gone down on this map.
So here's the thing, though. EXL are losing ultimates. They're about to get themselves a Graviton Surge soon, but that will be their only ultimate, along with the Nano Boost for some time. The rest of CAG, though, they're ready to go. Look at this Minefield ready as well.
Yeah, Anakin just doing this one again, but again, by the time he regroups with his team, the few ultimates that EXL have, they're so high impact, and they're coming in at such an advantage positionally that they're still cleaning up CAG. Anakin needs to really change his tune here. This isn't working.
The thing about EXL is they have initiative. They've been the ones pulling the trigger first. So for CAG, despite having ultimates, they haven't been proactive enough to actually get this attack into EXL. EXL, though, backing off.
And this is EXL recognizing that ultimate situation. Indeed, you already see the conversion very quickly off the tools committed there. And now CAG wanting to just preserve the rest of what they've got. If EXL can read that, they can actually just commit some ultimates, stall out the point longer, force a few more out of CAG, but they're not going to. They just want to back off.
They also don't want to be staggered. EXL now have 4 ultimates themselves, and they want to be able to get back in quickly to make use of them. And Cyclops Athlete Gaming themselves now also at 4 ultimates. This is going to be a pretty bloody fight, expecting both teams to use quite a few of the resources.
You'd like to think that CAG, with that slight positional advantage, can eke this one out, but EXL in with a creative flank. Gabushi self-destruct forward, gets Sabagod
no nano
before he can nano, exactly, and now Melon in with his own nano, just absolutely carving up CAG. All those ultimates, it wasn't even a lot for CAG, but they didn't even get to use what they had.
The thing about EXL is, again, they find the flank, they find the opening, they find the fight, they pull the trigger first. Anakin going to try his best just to swing around the cap, but you don't really get enough distance doing that, unfortunately, for CAG. Lose a cap almost as quickly as they cap it through, and now they're short on ultimates. They had an advantage, they don't have it anymore.
They are coming close to a grab, but so is Yom1. Anakin again with this, trying to pull members back, but unless his team can actually make something of it, it's just not going to do anything. Anakin now slept on the backside, separated from his team. He's going to live, but the rest of his team now in a grab, countering that out with their own one, and they've made it happen. The minefield went down out of Anakin, and the rest of the team was able to charge into that Graviton, getting back on the point now just as it went to 99 for EXL.
That 99% is very important for EXL. They only need to win one more fight to actually get this victory on Control Center now. But for Cyclops Athlete Gaming, still so many fights ahead of them that they have to be able to win. And they got to do it off the back of only one Earth Shatter.
It's a little bit tough. The EXL don't exactly have a lot of their own. They've got a sound barrier.
Flanking.
Yeah, once again, this needs to pay off. This has been so risky, and it's really not done much for this team, but there's the self-destruct forward. They've got to hide from it. Gabushi does not get back in the mech. That is a good start now, but the rest of the ultimates start to come up for EXL. CAG have to deal with every single one of them, and Claire is the first casualty. Samurai and low down! Sabagod as well picked off as Melon just charges forward. Once he gets going, once he gets their hammer swinging, no one on CAG has been able to stop him. Now capping back over, already at 99% CAG. The last resistance on the point disappears, and I don't see anyone making it here to contest.
This is a big issue now for Cyclops Athlete Gaming. You're right, no one gets to that point at all. They only had one shot to get that defense going. Earth Shatter from Samurai, unfortunately not collecting, and Melon again, the Reinhardt on the EXL side, collecting the majority of the kills. And I want to be excited about Wrecking Ball. I want to be excited about it being played in the DPS position. A triple tank or rather it's like a triple to quad tank at that stage almost, even with Brigade in the mix as well. And I want it to work for Cyclops Athlete Gaming, but they just couldn't quite connect it. Anakin on that Brigade, on the Wrecking Ball, much like we've seen from all the Wrecking Balls we've seen in the quarterfinals so far, not finding success. No one's really winning with it.
Little unfortunate, and it looks like they just want a change of tune here. They know they can't afford to make that same blunder, and the thing that really cost them, I mean, even when they were making it work, the thing that cost them was how long it took them to get on the point. So this time around, they want to get that advantageous fight immediately.
And this is now a good read from Cyclops Athlete Gaming. Again, Anakin is the player you want to play on Tafara, and they have read the potential goats come out of EXL. They'll be rewarded now, but Anakin needs to get the job done.
Right onto Zero, already making it happen. Chloe low as well. Sabotage did go down. Yeah, now 3 for 3. Anakin is absolutely cleaning up here. Now looking to get Assassin. Doesn't quite get him. Samurai does the honors. But the more important thing is the fight has been won, and CAG will be rewarded with the point.
Now EXL have the difficulty of deciding, do they want to change comps or not? Melon's already decided to. Assassin going to take to the skies as well. This is a near full change up from EXL, which means a complete reset on that ultimate charge.
And speaking of ultimate charge, Anakin already had a rocket barrage, and Assassin's just going to be so far away from his own. They're just waiting for it. Oh, Zero again. His concussive blasts are just absolutely terrifying if you're EXL right now. The few members that do actually get in the fight don't seem to be able to last very long. Anakin goes down in the dogfight. It's a little rough, but it doesn't matter. The damage has been done to EXL at this point.
And if Claire can survive this, which is, look, oh my lord, he actually does. Assassin actually gets taken off the map along with Chloe, doesn't even get clear into the end. You're right, though, the damage was done previously. Cyclops Athlete Gaming got way too many picks. As soon as Zero went down, who's, by the way, now into a Lucio, I mean, you can't even raise him up. Anakin's just going to try and kill the Mercy player. Chloe, Melon goes down as well, it's all over.
CAG, a lot of ultimates banked up. They're not even needed them. They've just been out-fragging here. You see that again. This is the first time they commit the ultimates here. And already the damage has just absolutely been done, wreaking havoc. This is the exact opposite of what we just saw on Control Center.
The ridiculous thing is CAG are not even having to use the rest of their ultimates right now. Depp, the Widowmaker player, this is his best pick. He's absolutely insane on the Widowmaker. Possibly the best Widowmaker of the Pacific region this season. He's going to make this one count as well. 4 more ultimates available. Here comes that self-destruct.
Pulse Bomb goes out, gets stuck onto Depp as a nice open, and Yom1 finally starting to turn things around for his team here. Needs to get more than that. Will indeed get more than that. 3 for 3 now. Yom1 puts the team on his back. Pulse Bomb and 2 headshots, very nice. And EXL muscling their way onto the point, even pops the mech of Ken Mohororo and finishes off the pilot form. In fact, the only 2 to not die to Yom1 was Samurai and Anakin.
That's 97% now for Cyclops Athlete Gaming. A little surprising for them to lose that fight considering how many ultimates they had available, but at the same time, Yom1 just able to thread the needle, Pulse Bomb onto Depp, converting onto the other members, and for Cyclops Athlete Gaming, lost way too members way too quickly. Could not stem the tide, and the EXL have actually evened up on this ultimates right now, as Yom1's about to get another Pulse Bomb.
Very aggressive dive from EXL, trying to cut off CAG as they're setting up, but they counter out with the Transcendence. Now EXL need to be careful to not overextend. That being said, the fight happening away from the point helps them a bit. It means CAG aren't pressuring it until they can get an upper hand, but upper hand indeed they are getting. Just trying to pressure out. Oh, catch onto Chloe. So big now. Gebushi immediately popped back out of the mech just after getting in it. And Melon as well, down to the Primal Rage. They're just running absolutely rampant. And again, the exact opposite of what we saw in Control Center. It's one brief hold from one team, but it's 99 for the other.
And now it's going to be the Wrecking Ball from Melon, but they're losing members so quickly. Yom1 was the big carry before. He can't carry now, he's dead.
Yeah, and Assassin can't even get in here to use that Rocket Barrage he finally banked up. CAG crucially tying up Lijiang Tower. They keep it alive. Not going to go down 0-1 just yet. And we go to our third map of Lijiang Tower.
That one looks so much more comfortable for Cyclops Athlete Gaming, and importantly, going to Night Market is a far more similar map to Gardens than it is to Control Center, which is the only outlier in this entire 3-round series of Lijiang Tower. That's the one where you're going to see a lot more tanks, way more closer in terms of space, way more narrow corridors. This one, Anakin can just play Pharah again, Depp can play the Widow again, and when you got everyone on their best picks, it's hard to beat them.
And if EXL commit to this, it does feel a little bit like a bad read. I mean, I don't want to be too absolutist here, but they struggled against Anakin Sparrow previously with the GOATS comp, and then when they changed things up, they still didn't really get much success.
Yeah, I'm going to go in through the backside, though, and that's going to allow Anakin to get pretty decent damage just through these windows.
Means that Melon has to turn that shield around, which leaves them exposed to the crossfire from Depp. Only way to deal with that is to try and pressure Depp out directly. The team just pulls back, defends him up. Sabagod does go down. They trade back. They start hurting the tanks of EXL, and that removes their ability to pressure the front line. The cap is open, but no one's on it. They're not fighting on it. Now EXL, as they move back to it, may be able to cap it out first, actually.
I mean, here comes Samurai again. Anakin's still into the air. You'll note that as soon as Gableshy goes down, the only Diva play here, who challenges Anakin? Who challenges Depp?
Well, apparently Chloe challenges Depp, but while he's doing that, his co-support did go down. Good DMAC onto Ken Mohororo, catching him out in the pilot form too. And this has been such a brawl. It's actually disallowed CAG from getting the fight they wanted. The proactivity from EXL has really saved them here.
The rotation from EXL is such that they go to the point when it opens, cap it through because Cyclops Athlete Gaming don't want to take a brawl into the point with them. And now they're collecting percentage points where Cyclops Athlete Gaming still just trying to poke them out, and they are successful, but they need to get a cap.
I mean, Assassin and Gablesheep both being dead just for that window there gives CAG precedence to get on the point. They had to fight through some crucial ultimates from EXL, especially that Earth Shatter. Depp's going to get back up, though, into the Coalescence, unfortunately, but he's still alive. Pops out Melon. They finish off Chloe, and Samurai forward with the Primal Rage creates the space for CAG to cap the point.
48% available, or rather 48% capped out for EXL-Esports, and now Cyclops Athlete Gaming, they have door control. They forced a full reset from EXL-Esports, which means they get to now hold these choke points, and with a Rocket Barrage nearly online, with the Doomfist as well, you got to think they can do it.
That being said, if Yum1 gets the right angle for a grab here, it's all over. Rover, the Rocket Barrage is kind of going to end that one before it starts. Samurai, though, gets traded back. It's not out of the woods yet for CAG. Kenma Hiroro and Sabagod will need to commit these ultimates. There's the self-destruct, but they are all in the grab there. Counted out largely by Sabagod's Transcendence. EXL, though, they're the ones coming up on the ultimates here. Depp, he can't get back up. That's a great boot from Chloe. The sound wave to pump him off the edge of the map. And EXL poised now to win this fight and take the point back in their control. Taste your own medicine, Chloe.
Yeah, even as Chloe gets knocked off the side there, Cyclops Athlete Gaming, they survived the grab, but they couldn't quite get the damage back in. The barrage was a good start, but it only got a DMAC and a kill into Gableshy, who's back into play anyway. Depp now changing onto the Hanzo. Might be able to look to see if he can find a little bit more success with a sniper, but we've already seen him on the Widow, and that was a bit limited on this map.
CAG didn't quite get much possession at that point, unfortunately. Still behind on the whole. But
good
starting to, doing a little bit better this time around. Good poke indeed. Forces a sound barrier. They are aware of the Rocket Barrage. They are aware of the threat. But Anakin is aware that Gableshy can block him out. Commits it now onto the rest of the team. Doesn't get much, but the damage may just tip the scales. They need to finish these members off. Yom1 got topped off, and Melon is still not dead. Now with the Coalescence out, they're going to be just fine. All that work done by the Rocket Barrage, but they couldn't close out the kills. This is a bit of a desperation play from CAG to book it to the point. They didn't quite get the cap. Now it comes up to 99% for EXL. They've still got ultimates. They kill Samurai. Cyclops Athlete Gaming have not been at full fighting force the entirety of this fight, and now the only tool they had, the Dragon Strike, will not save the point. EXL will take Li Zhang in a 2-1, draw first blood in this quarterfinal.
And I gotta be able to compliment EXL there because they had the gusto to be able to sort of come back around against Anakin's Fire. It wasn't really something they could handle on the Gardens map, but as soon as we got to night market, they seemed a lot more comfortable. They were able to play around it. They didn't necessarily counter him. Anakin didn't die a lot, but this time around, he also didn't do as much as he did onto Gardens. He wasn't nearly as effective. Depp was also struggling to find a pick that was working. The Widowmaker didn't quite give him the angles he wanted. Tried to go into Doomfist again, semi-successful, did get a couple of nice rocket punch kills, then went onto the Hanzo. The last thing he had was the Dragon Strike. Didn't really give the team enough to work with either. For the rest of Cyclops Athlete Gaming, despite the Rocket Barrages, despite all the ultimates, despite their composition, couldn't break through.
I'm reminded of some ancient history, or at least it feels that way. I'm reminded actually of EXL versus Monster Shield Korea way back in week 2. That Lijiang Tower was a very similar thing. We saw EXL on this GOATS kind of composition, and we saw Monster Shield Korea playing by rights what should be the counter. But then we also saw EXL playing in such a way with a kind of proactivity that just shut down the counter. The reality is, the counter does need to fight in a certain way in order to win. GOATS can play in a different way. It's arguably suboptimal given the heroes that you're running, but you can shut down what it is that the other team is trying to do in countering you out, and that's exactly what they did. They never let Anakin get the mileage he needed. They just fought everyone but Anakin.
That's the thing, they were winning that even though the damage from the fire was good. They didn't have to deal with Anakin because they were winning against everybody else onto the ground. The damage was decent in terms of poke, even depth with the Widowmaker, all the Hanzo, all of that poke damage, effective. But the problem is the rest of the members on the ground, the supports and tanks, do not last against the GOATS composition coming up from EXL. So even if EXL get poked out, they go for a brawl, they clean up members, they get the trades they're looking for, and even with Dip and Anakin alive, they can't swing the fight back over.
And I mean, that's the reality of it, right? All that poke, all that splash damage, all of that, it doesn't mean anything if you don't finish off the kills, because that's one of the strengths of GOATS. You've got these big health bars, and you've got healers that can top them off quickly. If you don't close out the kills, they will just survive. They will be able to stay in the fight for longer than you can afford. Now, as we move on forward, EXL already 1-0 up. We talk about potential upsets. They are kind of on their way here. Let's see now as we go to King's Row if CAG can turn it around and tie it up.
It's going to be our third King's Row of the evening here as well. Seen a lot of teams break here. Unfortunately, we've seen, now twice in a row, 2-0s before the first half is concluded, and EXL potentially in the position to do that again. Now, what we can still expect from Cyclops at Gaming is a potential substitution. Not that they need it, but the option is available. They have flexibility remaining. They have options remaining. This is the map they can afford to lose. It doesn't put them at match point yet, but if they lose King's Row, suddenly then things get dicey.
Yeah, quote-unquote afford is what I have to add as an addendum to that, though. I mean, this is the team that's coming in as a favorite. This is an expectable potential 3-0 for CAG. That's now off the table. This is a first-place seed versus a fourth-place seed. Now, look, we spoke very fairly of EXL about their ability to do this and why, so this isn't entirely unexpected, but if this becomes 2-0 up for EXL, then you've got to start questioning what's going wrong for CAG. And indeed, talking about what's going right for EXL. It could all happen here on King's Row. Will it be match point? Will it be tied up?
Again, I want to speak to EXL's favor here as well. They've shown us time and time again that they have the capability to be able to win. Again, the only team to actually beat Monster Shield Korea in Group A, coming in as the 4th seed. It's more than winnable. It's very likely. We've already seen them take Lijiang Tower. This is the kind of thing that happens where it is 4th seed versus 1st seed, but you're starting to not feel the difference in the seeding come into play anymore. You might not feel that come into play anymore if EXL can win the second map as well, and suddenly then you throw the seeding out the window completely. There is going to be that substitution we talked about. Tayo now coming in for Anakin.
And let's remind ourselves, by the way, in that EXL Monster Shield series, it went to the full 5, and it was on that second map that Monster Shield Korea evened things up. So if it follows that narrative, CAG do take this one out, but it's how they actually play that's going to count for the most, and they're pulling out a Wrecking Ball team comp. No, it's changing things up, not going to commit, but they will play a Sombra.
Yeah, the Sombra could be really good against this GOATS comp that EXL once again running. So EXL not really changing up too much. They have had a lot of success with this one composition, and until it gets defeated, like really defeated, they don't really need a swap.
Exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, as we always like to say. Also, if it's stupid and it works, then it ain't stupid. But that's different altogether. CAG looking for an angle inward now. Tayo pressured. How is Chloe the one getting these kills still? And that actually really hurts CAG here. It means they can't set up for anything too creative.
There's no punish yet. Gable, she's very low, but none of these tanks are really dying. A lot of healing coming up from the EXL side. Taipei now going to change onto the Pharah, probably a smart move considering what EXL are playing, but we fall into the same pitfall that we did see on Night Market. We need to see the kills coming through off the damage from the Pharah rockets.
And you just need to see at least one of these tanks getting finished off. The moment you do that, you can really start to tip the scales against these GOATS comps because they start to lack a little bit in the damage department. But once again, speaking of damage department, now it's Death who goes down. Samurai's far too low here. This team is just all split apart and turned about. CAG are just really losing time here.
The issue is CAG have decent rotations. I mean, they're getting onto the high ground. They know what their strengths are. But Depp gets caught out by a shield bash. Samurai fails his Winston jump onto the high ground again.
Woo!
But Depp changing onto the Widowmaker. I mean, this is what you want to see. You need to see Depp on his best hero.
Immediate revenge for what happened to him on Tracer. And now they can start getting genuinely aggressive. They've made a complete change up now from what we saw initially out the gate, which means they do suffer in the ult charge department. But despite losing Depp, they immediately start biting back. Gabushi out of the picture, and Melon getting pressured means EXL have to start seeding down.
That's blocked.
Yeah, blocked almost utterly.
Like bubble.
That's a decent rocket barrage as well. Doesn't get kills, but it keeps the pressure on. It lays out the damage. It keeps EXL away from the point as CAG move forward to start routing EXL.
One of the most important things that you actually see from the attacking squad is how they push the defenders backwards. It's not just in the damage or the kills, it's also in the fact that positioning matters here. Positioning matters when EXL is a tight-knit unit. Go back to the archway. Tayo then splashes rockets on top of all of them, gets a lot of damage. The tanks from CAG clean up.
Ah, man. Depp, welcome back.
He's a threat.
This is
man's a weapon.
Exactly. And I mean, that's a really crucial thing to lose in this fight as well. They do actually get a good trade back, but now losing Assassin. They're committing these tools in here, these ultimates EXL, but they're not going to get much out of them. They stall ever so briefly, but now they just have to flag the retreat.
The thing is, if Depp can continue finding player advantages here, even if he only gets one kill in a fight, that's a 6 versus 5. That's something that CAG can very, very much win. And for EXL, they can't afford to consistently be one member down. They have to now push the issue, they have to shut down Depp, and they have to start these fights because they do have ultimates to play with.
And there's the danger of a sniper against GOATS. You're liable to lose a support, and unless you have both, you can't keep all those tanks topped off. And ooh, there we see that in action. Trade back onto Yom 1 and the rocket barrage onto Melon. Sabagod keeps his team alive with a well-timed transcendence. And despite Samurai going down so early, he was vulnerable while channeling the Earth Shatter. They win the fight and keep the cart moving.
What a great team play there. Tayo saves a teammate by killing Melon with the rocket barrage while he's mid-charge. You also saw that Yom 1, he put that Graviton Surge down. Depp doesn't care. Instant headshot onto the Zarya player. Now gets Gableshy demected as well. Forces Gableshy to entirely reset his life. CAG off the back of Tayo and Depp are consistently finding picks.
And that just meant between those two picks that EXL couldn't actually contest that B cap, even though arguably they had time to. That's really rough. It gives CAG free room, and they've got just under 4 minutes to finish this cap now.
Assassin now going on to the Hanzo. You have Yomwon now challenging onto the Widowmaker. I gotta say, based on history, Yomwon has been a decent Widowmaker, but Depp's been the best.
Yeah, well, she taking a world to hurt, can pop the self-destruct to reset the mech when necessary. Unfortunately, Kenmo Hororo got very little with the self-destruct. Samurai on his back cannot avoid the self-destruct. That tips the numbers the way of EXL. If only briefly, they're now evened up.
So the problem now, they're losing a lot more picks. They had a trade, but Samurai comes back online. Carter's continuing to move through. You do also see some challenge from Melon to try and get that high ground. Disables Depp, forces him into the low ground, but Depp probably still effective.
Very much still effective, and there's got to be a point, a breaking point here for EXL, where they've got to start really getting involved on this cart. Numbers be damned. They are even now technically, but CAG is still actually moving forward. Now the ultimates start to come in. Both support ults for CAG. Primal Rage forced out from Melon. As you see Depp keeping pressure on the side here. This draws Melon up to him, but Melon wants to be on the cart. CAG can just back off from here and then come back in once these ultimates have run out.
That's an insane amount of pressure. Look at the fact that EXL have to put so much pressure back onto Depp. They have to force Melon to dive him entirely. Everyone has to look at him, and while that's happening, CAG are winning.
And they're still getting kills on top of all that. Now all the ultimates, the Earth Shatter, the Grav, just the double tank slam dunk. And that was barely an effort there from Chloe. Attempt at a res. Dragon Strike far too late out of Assassin. Doesn't even get kills in the overtime.
I guess that's the thing about CAG, right? You look at Lee Jung-Tao and you think, okay, well, Gardens, what was effective there? Depth on the Widowmaker was insane. Amberkin had a lot of pressure coming up from Farah. That was the combination that was working. Bring that back onto King's Row. It started out kind of slow. Didn't quite get the mileage, but you always have that extra trump card in your back pocket. When things go badly, put Depp onto the Widowmaker and things will start looking very, very good. He's just simply so good at the hero. He will get you picks in nearly every situation. I say nearly because we did see CAG unfortunately fall over on Night Market where he was forced to change because unfortunately he just couldn't quite make it work then. But he did make it work now and that's what counts.
That's the thing. Look, EXL, they could counter it out on Night Markets. Weren't able to counter it out on King's Row. Maybe it's map dependent, or maybe CAG have just kind of cranked that execution up a notch. At any rate, something a little bit different on the defense, not at all unsurprising. And this is also feeling like we're much more back into Teo's wheelhouse.
Oh, I wonder if this is a real pick. And I was sort of saying if we are seeing a Symmetra, you're probably likely to see it on a DPS pick. At the rate things are going. I am thinking this is probably not a real pick, but I'd like to be wrong. I'd like to actually see a Symmetra being used in pro play, the new Symmetra that is. So for Cyclops Athlete Gaming, not going to be too tricky here. This is a very standard defense. We see Orisa Hog with Junkrat and a Hanzo. Insane poke damage.
Looks like a rapper with all the hand movements. Or like a ninja. It's like a bad Jackie Chan film.
Like a crazy
That's
DJ.
a lie. There's no such thing as a bad Jackie Chan film.
So here's the thing. It's going to be mainly a GOATS except for Yom1 playing the fire. And the reason he's on the fire is because he wants to spam the concussive blast to try and force CAG off the high ground.
No, he's actually,
he's going to Zarya.
Opted not to there, just sticking with
He
a more...
threw one out, didn't work, so whatever.
Yeah, it's like, oh, why not? Go back to what I want to play. And I mean, let's be honest, the Zarya has been good for him. They just pressure the low ground, but Melon goes down to the spam damage from Teo, and now the rest of the team, oh man, just too much damage on the approach there. He did get CAG off the high ground, but when you lose the fight that convincingly, plus a grab in and a concussive mine on Yom1, that is not a good feeling.
I want to say convincing is the key word here because look at the ultimates available for CAG. That was one fight win. Dep's nearly at a Dragon Strike. Tayo's nearly at a Taya. These ultimates can win another fight just on their own.
Yeah, Tayo's Taya. Taylor's out of time. CAG on this defense looking just a lot more comfortable on the whole, and EXL, it's on them to answer. We'll be coming up on a coalescence.
Here's that flank around there. You expect the EXL to actually go on the high ground, deny that high ground advantage from CAG, then just kind of get the wrap around and entirely drop onto CAG. But CAG is actually going to make this rotation themselves.
Yeah.
Now you start to see the swap around. It looks like Cyclops Athlete Gaming, their attacking team, and EXL defending.
Now EXL move on to CAG, kind of pinning them in a rough spot, throwing out the coalescence traps. But he's going to be just fine. Here comes that Taya, though, out of Teo. Gets Yom1. That's the thing, CAG, they do sort of a full switcheroo between the two teams, but they look ultimately comfortable. They still throw out the spam damage. EXL gets some progress purely because technically they were stood on the point. They can get a bit more now as they pressure out, kill Samagod. Samurai gets rezzed in. CAG starting to regain their own positioning, and that does mean the progress on the point stops for the time being.
By the way, Depp just used the Dragon Strike, nearly onto another one. He actually has to live here, very important.
He's going to be, oh no, just trying to, just kind of ring around the rosy up and down both sides of that wall. No such luck. Self-destruct as well from Kenmo Hiroro. Doesn't get many kills. CAG are a little lean on members here, and this is where it starts to cost them. They did at least get a lot of time off the clock, but ultimately this will now go the way of EXL.
I'll point out the fact that EXL got pretty even trades in that last engagement was what allowed them to eventually cap this point. Every one-to-one trade they make, they get advantage on because they spawn so much quicker, so much closer to the point. CAG come through from such far away distance. They're not going to get back to the point on time. They still do have this Dragon to work with, but look at this aggressive play now from EXL.
I like this. It kind of preempts the Dragon in a sense, but unfortunately because Melon walked into a trap, they can't go any further forwards and they have to back right off. Really unfortunate thing for him to get caught in now. CAG, this is where they can make up a lot of time on the defense.
They want to hopefully use a Dragon Strike on the card if they can, and they have. But
yeah. I mean, it's not even that wins in the fight at this point. It's actually just the members of EXL that were charging down the middle getting picked off by Cyclops' entrenched defense there.
I wanted to say as well, the but from me was the fact that if you do Dragon Strike the card, the rest of EXL can just fight into, which is exactly what happened. However, Cyclops Athlete Gaming did preempt that as well, put the damage down, put the hurt down. Tayo with the good grenades as well, stops EXL in their tracks, but now they're about to hit 6 ultimates. And the issue is Cyclops Athlete Gaming do not have ultimates. Depth though, again, just use the dragon, another dragon on the way.
They can just get a little bit of mileage out of that. They should actually be all right here, but there they are all caught in the grab.
They're all down.
Exactly, but that was a lot out of EXL, arguably a bit of an overcommitment. When you consider that there's still going to be another defense on this B from Cyclops Athlete Gaming, this isn't too bad a position for them because EXL just bled themselves dry.
We'll have to see what EXL can get out of this Earth Shatter as well. So you're starting to see where Melon is going to go. Probably looking to hide. If he doesn't reveal his position, he can get a sneaky Shatter in. Now has revealed that position, so they just want to be able to hold forward. Dissuade Cyclops Athlete Gaming from wanting to come in.
It is smart, but it's dangerous with that Dragon Strike there. It splits EXL apart. CAG haven't quite capitalized, but they have got back in towards the position they want to be in order to defend this card.
The thing is, they needed to push EXL back, which is what the Dragon does.
Ooh, that catch on Assassin is huge. It means that that Earth Shatter not as impactful as it could have been. Tayo dead. It's really unfortunate. He had the Riptire. And now CAG are having to commit everything and the kitchen sink to the fight, but it is more than enough to bring the house down. EXL themselves also committed a lot of ultimates, so this is where CAG can really just dig in their heels on a defense.
I was going to say the backup plan for CAG is good, despite losing Tayo, who does have the Riptire still. They had double support ultimate, so they can still come back from a losing position. Chloe with the one sound barrier is not going to be enough to beat both the Transcendence and a Valkyrie. Then on top of that, the Graviton Surge comes down. Now they still have the Tire, another Dragon coming online, and for Tayo, we've seen him get a ton of kills off these before.
He only needs to get one as well. It doesn't even have to be a ton. Even aside from that, it just forces them so far back. Would have liked to see some kills there, but all's well that ends well.
The backup plan is going to be this Dragon Strike instead.
There's the big commit. The Earth Shatter out of Samurai. It really hurts the follow-up, and it means despite the members caught in the grab, they at least get a couple of kills, but the rest of CAG not so lucky. Gong rings out, and this will result in a cap for EXL. This is where the difference in time helps Cyclops Athlete Gaming, though. EXL cannot match CAG's cap time, and that is if they cap at all.
By the way, Assassin now onto the Tracer, and EXL played that last attack pretty smart. Waited for the Tire to come out, baited it out, shot the Tire down, then went back in before Depth had the Dragon Strike available. So they get the cap off the back of it. But now for EXL, still the work needs to be done. 2 minutes 05, and they've got to get past the Dragon. It comes down.
Yeah, it splits the team up again. It's about capitalizing on that, though. And that is a big chunk out of Melon, but he's not quite dead. Neither is Gabushi. In fact, it's Claire who's dead. They do finally pick off the Diva. CAG. There we go, starting to beat them back. You almost wish they hadn't committed this Tire. Now they get 2 for it. They ensure that the fight is a victory. That was a little bit more costly than it maybe needed to be.
Again, the backup plan is good. Kimohororo and Sabagod both with ultimates available. Cyclops Athlete Gaming, very valuable to get a full reset on that attacking team. Force them all the way back to spawn. Assassin now onto the Hanzo as well. For Cyclops Athlete Gaming, they get to reset up, which is definitely worth it. 1:24 remaining, only a couple more pushes left.
CAG had the tools to extend this one out. Ken Mohororo, one good grab will do it. They've also got Sabagod who can rescue them if they get caught in a grab out of Yom 1. And there it is, the catch onto Melon as well. Closes that one out, and that is that high payoff. Even though Depp goes down, they can conserve the rest of their ultimates and rotate into even more. Less than a minute left now for EXL.
So you need to see EXL get some good value out of Yom 1's Graviton Surge here as well. Doesn't quite have insanely good ults to combo with it. The Dragon Strike is not necessarily available just yet. Melon does have an Earth Shatter, so the double tank ultimates could get some good value, but you're also seeing double support ultimates from CAG again, and both of those should be enough to block out.
I don't know if EXL can get through just the sheer massive ultimates CAG have. Tayo stayed topped off here in this Transcendence. Yeah, EXL have actually so far lasted this one out, and suddenly CAG don't have much. Coming up on a Tayo though, Melon's down right as he got an Earth Shatter out. Ken Mohororo died, but there's closer respawns, an Assassin going down. Clutch sound barrier from Chloe, and they killed Tayo to boot. but there's still too many kills on the side of EXL for them to keep this alive too much. Cyclops Athlete Gaming with the closer respawns will retake possession of the cart.
The problem is the sound barrier was forced out. Now there's no time. Members were staggered. Who's going to get on the cart?
Melon's so low here. He at least has the Moira there behind him to keep himself topped off. But this is now the last gasp from EXL, and they're not starting in an advantageous position exactly now. Grab onto the team. That's not ideal out of Assassin at all, and the team just gets swept away. That's going to be the holes for Cyclops Athlete Gaming. They're going to tie up this quarterfinal.
Just before the end of that third point as well, such well defended on that third cap, you started to think for EXL Gaming after getting that second cap, which was a very, very difficult task ahead of, which was a very difficult task in the first place. The job ahead of them was even more difficult. They just weren't able to get the economy in their favor, weren't able to really get value out of these ultimates. And this was the fight that ultimately gave them this big cap, but still, so much more defense left to go through.
And that's the reality there. I mean, start to finish, CAG just got more out of each point of defense than what EXL did by comparison. The point A took about an extra minute for EXL. The point B, there was that extra fight early on that even though they lost, CAG were able to get those ultimates out of EXL that had been banked up, get themselves in a position where they could win a fight on B. They then lost another fight later on B, but by the time that was all said and done, there just wasn't enough time left for EXL to cap out. They still could have, don't get me wrong, but first of all, the time bank wouldn't have been comparable, and second of all, hell, they didn't even cap out.
Oh, it just seemed like a big struggle ultimately throughout all 3 points. And
I appreciate that pun.
The thing about CAG as well that you have to really appreciate is the fact that when you look at how quickly something else were coming up, Depp was nearly getting a Dragon Strike every single fight. The only reason we didn't see a Dragon Strike every single fight was, first of all, he doesn't want to have to use that every fight, but secondly, sometimes EXL found good timings to make a push in, killed Depp on about 90-ish% ultimate, but like, if that didn't happen, if Depp didn't go down, if EXL was slightly slow, that's another Dragon Strike.
And it did feel like EXL were winning fights because they were able to get crucial picks to just disrupt the timings of CAG and whatever it is they needed to do at that particular moment of defense. So, look, credit to that where it is due. But you've got to imagine the alternate scenario where if EXL hadn't have even got that, that would have been an even more one-sided win there. That is the CAG we're more or less expecting. And if they can just continue that on through, they can close out this series without too much difficulty. It's a little unfortunate that they're not at match point, but at least they're not at match point against them.
I think, again, you can compliment EXL on their ability to punish CAG, but how many more mistakes can CAG still make in the series? That is 1-1 so far, so both teams have had some good wins, have had some losses now as well, but again, only one team can come out on top. When we come back from the break, we will resume the quarterfinal between CAG and EXL. Who's going to win? Find out after this.